And we're live. I'm already seeing somebody saying he's here already. That's Willie Oeba at 11:02 a.m. Big up to you, man. So welcome to today's discussion. Today we have a wide range of issues that we're going to be talking about, but they are all tied to the question of relationships and finances, which I feel is an even more interesting topic to discuss on, considering the economic times we're living in today. Yesterday, we had a candid discussion on masculinity, touching on the socialization of men and the policy gaps in law that make the social life of men and women in relation to today's society the way they are today. So today we have a panel of varied people from all walks of life, people spanning across the continent. Some of them will be joining us in a few. I understand there's an issue with time zones, but the team is working on it behind the scenes to make sure that everybody is in on time. Now, I want us to jump right into the discussion by having a small introduction of everybody. Tell us a bit about yourself and the work that you do. Tell us a bit about yourself and the work that you do. Let us start with you, Ruzuma Akoth.
As you named me, I'm Ruzuma Akoth. I am passionate about gender issues, particularly women's issues in the society. I am an advocate of gender equality. I am pursuing a master's degree in women's governance and leadership in Africa, but I'm also an engineer by profession and an auditor.
Great. Shiko Kihika.
Hello. Yeah.
Please tell us about yourself and the work that you do.
So, hi guys. I've had one tough morning today, but I'm here. So, my name is Shiko Kihika, as earlier stated. I work with Tribeless Youth. At Tribeless Youth, we work with young creatives to amplify social issues that are happening every day. By nature of a born activist, a mother, and above all, I'm very much interested in matters boy child because I mothered a boy, and it's important for him to, grow up knowing that the society is not against me, but the society is for me. So this is why I'm interested about the conversation today, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds.
Commander John, tell us about yourself and the work that you do.
Thank you, Omeka. My name is Commander John. From Nakuru, I work for an organization called Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance. Personally, I am a social worker by profession. I am also a human rights defender and a gender and governance activist. And for the interest of this discussion, I am also a fresh husband, 1 year into marriage.
Congratulations, Commander.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's I know that will give us a lot of context in the kind of discussion we want to have. I had the opportunity to introduce myself. I am in the company of a very able co-host. I'd like you to introduce yourself, Michelle. Tell us a bit about yourself and the work that you do.
Thank you, Robin. My name is Michelle Wanjiro. That's my preferred, name. I have many names. Yes, I am an environmentalist. I am a serial manager and overall, I'm also a budding public speaker. I'm a passionate Toastmaster. And as I develop and grow my journey as a speaker, I am very passionate about the topics of climate justice and social justice. And I really just don't like bullies. So any way to discuss scenarios or issues in a way that reduces bullying, you will find me there, like you have found me here today. Yes.
Awesome. Great. So we are here because clearly we are a very varied group of people, and today we are discussing something that connects every human being because human beings relate with each other. And there's a science to how we relate, there's a socialization to how we relate. So today we are discussing the topic of relationships and finances. And I want to jump straight into the first few questions before I hand over to my colleague Michelle to drive us through the other part of the conversation. I want to ask you, let me start with you, Shiko Kihika. Drawing from your own experiences, personal or otherwise, how do finances strain relationships? How do finances strain relationships?
Oh, that's interesting. I think the first thing is to define what a relationship is, because in most cases, some of us are just coexisting. We're not in any form of relationship anyway. And in other cases, there's some people who are living together and telling us they're married, yet they're just two adults with no papers, with no nothing, coexisting. So that is where we need to first draw the line. But for me, and I think I'll start with a disclaimer. I've been in a relationship for the last 6 years. How I've survived, I don't know. But there is there's something that I've learned through and through, that finances can be the beginning of your forever fights or the beginning of your forever happiness. So you just need to choose wisely how you put it out. You just need to choose wisely how you work around it, because knowing our generation, we've grown in a generation where for us women, our money is our money. For you men, your money is our money. So growing in such a generation where you see that in a scenario where you're both working, but the man picks the bigger bills, the woman picks the kidogo kidogo bills. And my question is always, is the money from the men heavier than that comes from the women? Or what happens? Why do we need such? So finances can be how you choose to define it. You cannot live without finances. Broke people suffer, like we need money, but then we need to define how we live. And how, that's why I've said we need to define our relationship. If we are coexisting, your money is your money, my money is my money. If we're in a relationship, then let us make it our money generally, where my money feels like your money feels like my money. So we are able to discuss and we're able to see how do we forge forward in terms of bills, in terms of the needs that we have. Yeah.
Very quickly, I will ask everybody to mute their microphones so that we can have some background silence, and then we can be talking as and when um, the conversation continues. Uh, in the beginning of the conversations, of the conversation, I had said that we are going to be having a few other people getting on board as we continue. Currently, I'm seeing we're already here. We're only missing, I think, two more people, but we had done a round of introductions, and I'd like, before we continue from where Shiko Kihika has left off, with the question I've asked on that I've directed to her and the rest of the panel. I'd like Ismail Inspires to introduce himself and tell us a bit of what he does, and the same for Javan. So Ismail, tell us a bit about yourself and the work that you do.
My name is Ismail. You can call me I Smile because of this wide smile. I am a motivational speaker and a coach. What I do is I do group coaching. I do some motivational speaking. Anything to do with community work for the youth around Nairobi. Yeah, that's me. Thank you for giving me the chance to tell you about myself.
Awesome. Javan, tell us a bit about yourself and the work that you do. Javan. Javan, are you with us?
Yes. I'm here. Can you get?
Yes, we can. Please tell us a bit about yourself and the work that you do.
My name is Javan, also known as Javan the Poet. I'm a poet and a rapper, and also a community leader. I work with the Justice Centers Working Group, also a member of the Fighting Equality Alliance, and uh, I'm an artist by profession and also an entrepreneur. I'm happy to join you all, and I'm looking forward to a fruitful conversation. Of course, the conversation is about relationships and finances, and these are things that are really key and also dear to our hearts. So I'm happy to be part of this.
Awesome, great. Asu, please tell us a bit about yourself and the work that you do.
Okay, first of all, I'm
Hello.
so privileged to have been part of this great team. And I just want to thank you guys for making it possible. My name is Peter Achu Adalete from Ghana. I'm a teaching artist with the International Teaching Artists Collaborative. And I'm more into the arts. As an arts practitioner, I mean, all I do is to investigate life through the arts, and that is what I've been doing. That's brief, just brief about me, and I'm so happy about this very sensitive topic that has to do with relationship and l'argent. So interesting. Thank you, guys.
Great. So back to where Shikokihika had left. I remember the takeaway for me for that particular question when she answered it was we need to get to a point in relationships where her money is her money and his money is his money, but then in a relationship, it is all our money. Yeah, and so picking up from there, the question I had asked, drawing from your own experiences, personal or otherwise, how do finances strain relationships? I believe I want to jump straight to Commander John. Commander John, please give us your insights on that question.
Yeah, thank you. I think, to be honest, I think, well, in relationships, finances are a big deal. It's something that, of course, defines how you relate with each other. And the reason is because, of course, relationship brings two different personalities, probably people, taste, preferences, and what have you. So sometimes you'll find maybe your partner spends too much money, and yourself, you're the kind of saving, and of course, a very opposite trend, and what have you. And in relationships, I must confess that money brings a lot of course, emotions, because we need to take care of bills, we need to live well. Probably you need to, of course, get some luxuries and what have you. And then that's it's important to note that finances define a lot our relationships, particularly, of course, speaking about even marriage and serious relationships, like what my friend Ashiko said. So my experience is that when in relationships, of course, we need to be quite open with our finances capabilities. It's also good to understand each other. I think communication is key. Whenever you are spending anything or you intend to spend, it's important that your partner understands where you're coming from. And so yeah, I think my main point is relationships are defined by finances define a lot our relationships, and it's something that I really think should be clearly set and clearly understood. We should have consensus on spending, budgets, and what have you. Yeah, like any other thing, finances are really key in any, of course, setup, be it family, be it church, even the church, actually, finances are key. So, yeah, that is what I think personally.
Okay, great. I want to jump again to Ruzuna. Ruzuna, tell us about your experiences, and how do finances strain relationships? What can you add?
Yeah. Okay, I concur with my co-guests on what they have already said, but I also want to add the aspect of secrecy and a certain lack of openness when it comes to speaking about money, both for the men and the women, because we are raised not to shy away from issues that surround financial issues. And so when you engage in relationship, money is the last thing that you want to talk about, when it should be among the first issues that you should be addressing at the very beginning. So that kind of secrecy and lack of openness towards money, towards your finances, it affects a great deal how you relate as a couple in a relationship. And then there's what Shiko had talked about, the gendered expectations of financial responsibilities. Those issues tend to seem innocuous, but they are very weighty, because like she had used this old trope that I personally hate, when someone says that my money is mine and yours is ours. We need to look at the justice of that statement. When men are not supposed to be our fathers. You have been raised, given everything in life, and so at an adult age, you should be able to take care of yourself. It is not the responsibility of another man or another human being to come and take care of you, to come and take care of you. And so that kind of trope, it creates a lot of issues in a relationship. Now, the way I would maybe post it that it be addressed is that, for men especially, if you are to be in a relationship with a woman, because we are all struggling with these gendered natures of relationship, be open. I like to say, tell your truth. And at the beginning of the relationship, I always insist on asking, what is your position financially? For the woman, if you meet a girl who does not have prospects, who wants to, for me, be a housewife, I don't advocate for housewifery, because it is an unpaid job. And that means that throughout that relationship, it will be upon the man, it will be the burden of the man to take care of everything. That is, the relationship is already crippled, and that is a problem. Uh, unless you're willing to conform and maintain the status quo, where the man is the provider and the woman is the consumer. And in this world where the political, the social, the economic affects both man and woman, it is unacceptable. And also, the last issue I think brings, which strains relationship, is personal interest. Individuals enter relationships for different reasons. And before you commit to a relationship with a woman or a man, try to find out or investigate what are her intentions in that relationship. Is it genuine love, a need to be with you? Is it for financial purposes, or other reasons thereof? So in a relationship, you need to be aware of all these things if you intend to actually work at making it work, so to speak. Yeah.
Okay, very, very aptly put, comprehensive too. I want to ask finally Ismail, before we work on bringing in Atsu, I wanted to get his view as a man in West Africa. Uh, Please tell us, Ismail, how do you relate to
Uh,
anything they're saying?
I relate to most of the things they are saying, and sorry, I am in East Africa, in Kenya officially. I don't think finances strain relationships at all. What strains relationships is missing one of the goals of having a good relationship. For example, let's say trust, or being open, or being in love, or in communication. Because when you are in love, or when you're having a good communication, finances won't be a big deal at all. All you know is having and owning this thing together, and making use of your shared accounts or your shared finances, and Sorry about the interference. I don't know where it's coming from.
Probably you have a tab open on
So
Facebook. Okay, but just proceed.
all right. So what I think the making finances in relationship is missing one of the goals of having a good relationship. If you are open to your partner, if you are having uh, Mr. Host, can we continue?
Can, but I feel like there's probably you could be having a tab that's open, and so we're having the conversation talked like broadcasting twice. That's where the echo will be coming from.
There's someone there's someone broadcasting it on Facebook near them. Maybe they can mute
It's not
themselves.
around me. Maybe
Okay.
someone's mic's off.
And now?
And now it's okay.
Okay.
All right.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
So I think that's what strains relationships, and for the lady side, there's sometimes you will see for a lady giving finances or money to a male friend, it's easy for them, but providing for their boyfriend or their other partner will be hard to them. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens sometimes because to them it's like more of testing. Can this guy provide for you? Can this guy be there for you? So it's sometimes, I know many won't agree with me, but sometimes it becomes a matter of testing the other person. Would they be enough for me? Would they be giving me the life that I need? So I don't think all the time finances is strained relationships. What strains relationship is having that communication, just like Amanda said.
Okay. Great. I'm seeing Cookie Iwoha just joined us. Cookie, how are you? I hope you are fine. Atsu, thank you for joining in again. I understand there are problems with the network on your end, but I want us to the question I've just asked has set ground for the next one, which is how practical are the financial expectations that men have been traditionally assigned in today's society? How practical are they? The traditional assignments of financial obligations on men in today's society. Drum rolls. Who wants to go first? Commander John, before I bring in Atsu.
Okay, I think first of all we need to confirm that traditional perceptions have really taken toll on men's role in finances. We all know, we say even here in Africa, the role of the man is to provide, and it's something that I think we need to be keen on because times are changing and even the different gender roles are taking shape in another different perspective. So I think traditional ways that have made us, the way we grew up even today, and it's unfortunate because some ladies these days also have the saying that Shiko started with. Sasa yangu ni yangu lakini yako ni yetu. So I think the way we are socialized, and this gets back to, of course, our responsibilities as societies in bringing up our children, in trying to define the different roles we have as men and women, has made, of course, men being viewed as the providers. And you see, like for now, we are living in tough economic times. If you are to get into a relationship, the thought of having the man providing, of course, you as the lady, only maybe taking other peripheral responsibility is something that we need to question because it's a tough world out there. And this gets back to, of course, relationships. Every relationship is unique in itself. And I think partners have their own way of understanding each other. And of course, trying to get to know what are my capabilities in this relationship. I know of relationships that have women who have more money, than men. And I know we are coming to that discussion later. But I think the traditional way becomes very, very prominent in such a scenario, because most of these men who have more empowered women, or let me say more women who have more income in their relationship, they tend to be a bit shied upon, and let me say it as it is, because they say wanakosa kuheshimiwa. So the traditional way, I think, is these days misleading. It's out of date, actually. I think financial responsibilities in a relationships need to be taken by all of us, and but particularly it needs to take cognizance of the fact that we might be having different capabilities financially. So if the man has money, good, well and good. And I think I don't want to say that men are shying away from responsibility. It is actually very okay when a man stands up for his family, for his relationship, being the leader, being the head. It's actually a good thing, but that should not, of course, maybe limit women participation in financial matters in the relationship. So traditional ways are outdated. I want to say it here, without fear of contradiction. We need to move away from that feeling that it's the responsibility of the man to take care of all financial responsibilities in a relationship. That is my take on that question, Osengwa.
Good. I want Shiko. I see you have something to say, Shiko.
I'm sort of trying to think from what Ismail said earlier, where
Yes.
finances don't really define relationship. I want to differ a bit with that, because a relationship is made of so many things, but you cannot eat love. Let us be clear about that. We cannot say, look at each other and tell each other we love each other, we will eat that. We cannot eat love. You need money to buy yourself food. People need to work. And see, the most unfortunate part is that in Kenya we have this good term where men to my fair every weekend. Such a good thing. That's why we eat it, because you have money to send me to buy food. I will buy food. I won't come see you. But can we learn, if we're in a relationship and I want to come see you, it's not your obligation to send me fare to come see you. It's a mutual agreement. So that is why I keep saying we need to define what we are doing. If it's a blesser kind of relationship, let it remain a blesser kind of relationship. We have so many types of different relationships and different ways people live. I like what Kamande said, by we need to redefine what are the terms of this 21st century generation kind of relationships that are there. I know of situations that I am the type of women that love being in control, and I love paying my own bills, so that I feel like, yeah, you know what, I got this. But that not being an issue, I agree with Commander that there are times where we need to look at. I don't know where the noise is coming from in a distract.
I
Are we
think
good
it's okay.
now?
Yeah, we
Oh,
are.
okay.
We are.
Okay. So there are times where we need to sit down and look again. Okay. So there are times where we need to sit down and look at how much are you earning? How much can I contribute to this? And I keep insisting, with as much as people can love each other, can have trust and everything, money can also break that trust. So if you're lying, your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend will not trust you. So let us look at it this way. I know we like sugarcoating relationships. It's a good thing. Trust me, it's a good thing. But the truth be told, even in your own household, where you come from, money plays a key role to your happiness. People say money cannot buy happiness, but trust you me, it buys a lot of happiness. People say that, you know what, we can live without finances. Wacha tu tuambiane ukweli, we cannot live without money. We need money to survive. The government of the day is borrowing money because it needs money to survive. So you cannot tell me you can run your household without money. That is a lie. But we need to also acknowledge that relationship is a mutual agreement. Being with someone and deciding to live with someone despite of their situation, whether financially or mentally, it's a decision you make. You're not forced into it. So when we are talking about this relationship, and for this matter, I'm talking about genuine relationships, not the sponsor me so that I survive relationships. We need to get to a point where we acknowledge that we all have our personal responsibilities to go out there and hustle, go out there and work. Why? Because me and you need to make it work. We are no longer in the generation where our mothers and fathers used to live just outside their mom's house and they have a shamba there so they can plant whatever they want and eat. That one was very understandable. When your mom decides to be a housewife, at least she has a shamba there and she will harvest food there as your father looks for other things. But right now we're living in a setup where I've met you in town, I don't know you. Nobody came to Nairobi, Nakuru, or any other city to count flamingos and buildings. We all came to make sure we are surviving. So this means for me that you have a responsibility as a woman to get a job. And you also have a responsibility as a man to get a job. And whatever you're earning, let us meet in the house and say, you know what, I love you too much, but we have bills. So how much did you come up with? How much did I come up with? I have this amount. So what are our priorities? What bills do we need to pay? And how much do we also save so that we don't remain empty pockets? This helps. Why? For me, I have never understood this thing of people in relationships. Your husband is at work and you're calling them and say, hi, babe, I don't have tokens. Can you send me 200 bob? What the hell is that even? And why would we get to that point in our relationships? I feel like we complicate too much and we expect too much from one gender. And I'm sorry, I'm going to be very biased. We expect too much from one gender that we forget that we are also humans and we were born. And after 18, you're independent enough to get your own money. Nobody was born, and this brings me back to a conversation most people don't agree with. The problem about finances starts when we start talking about dowry. The moment you say a man is coming to pay your dowry, you're literally making it look like your baby that is going to be taken care of every day. These are some of the traditions we need to revisit, seriously. And I also feel like there's this thing where men are supposed to handle the big chunk of bills. Like we have school fees, we have 2 kids, we have school fees, we have rent, we have all these other things. So me I'm earning, but I'm going to buy food. So you can handle all the other bills. For me, it feels off. So we need to honestly and first define our relationship, our age bracket. I saw polls by Infotrack where they were saying 18 years to 35 of this generation, there's one gender, the feminine gender is now earning more than the man. And we also want these men to take us to Kempinski for lunch. And this guy cannot even afford his Uber cash or Matatu cash to town. So how is this going to work? Why can't we bring out a culture? And I keep asking, if today I send my money 1,000 bob and tell him, yo, babe, have lunch, will it cut off my legs? Or will I not leave? Or will I stop breathing because I've bought him lunch? So we need to also accept the baggage as women. And we need to get to a point where we say, you know what? I have my responsibilities, I have my bills. And maybe before even people start living together, y'all need to start living in your own houses first so that you know what bills mean, so that you know how much baggage this is. I might take the whole of your time if you allow me to keep talking, so give it to someone else.
I'm sure there are a number of reactions. I'm sure already from the side chat, I can see Kamande has a lot to say. But then I want to bring in Atsu. Before Atsu, you disappear again. Please weigh in on the matter. Tell us how practical financial expectations that men have been traditionally assigned to in today's society. As a man, I understand you have a family, a very beautiful wife and children. Please tell us how that climate is financially speaking. Let us learn from you, Atsu. Atsu, are you with us? Atsu.
I don't know. What was the name of my lady, the one who just spoke?
She's called Shiko Kihika.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello?
We can hear you. We can hear
We
you.
can hear you.
Ah, okay. He disappeared again. Cookie Iwoha, how are you? Cookie, you are muted. Okay, let me unmute you. Okay. How are you, Cookie?
Hi, good morning, everybody.
How is Ghana?
Ghana is cool.
Yeah, so I want to bring you in on the discussion. Of course, you weren't there from the beginning, but want to jump straight in. You've been listening to the different things other panelists have been saying. I want you to tell us how practical are financial expectations that men have been traditionally assigned to in today's society. How practical are they?
Um, from the cultural perspective, the
Yes.
man has the responsibility. There's a huge responsibility on an African man when it comes to financial responsibilities. It has been our way of life, even in the foreign in other cultures like in the West. Yeah, we read stories, we hear how financial issues are treated equally, is being gender balanced over there, regardless of situations like in divorce where men are forced to leave their homes, find another place to stay. When there is a divorce in West, here is quite a different ball game. There is this very popular phrase that's a man's world. And when we look at the economic chart on people who are economically disadvantaged in the world, women are very high on the list. There are more successful men in the world than there are women. When you look at the charts, when gender activists are talking about economic opportunities, in some offices, men earn more on the same work that a woman is also doing in an office. There are those issues that pops up. Now, is it practical? Can a man really bear the entire burden of a home? Change is anything constant. Nothing remains the same, even though a few things will be as solid as the foundations of the earth. That change is the only thing constant. And in the modern world, there are a lot of issues that are popping up when it comes to finance on the man and the woman. So I believe there needs to be neutrality in that context. It doesn't have to be a man's responsibility. The financial burden doesn't need to rely on the man in entirety. The people involved in a relationship, it takes two people to be involved in a marital or romantic relationship. They need to look at themselves and see what can work for them. It's not really about because you are a man, you have to really take care of everything in the house. My culture in Igbo land, the first son inherits more than the rest of the family members. But there's another saying that when a parent is dead, the person that has money or that is more financially stable in the family should lead the burial rites and not the first son, because it's not the first son that killed the dead parent. So that analogy somehow explained my position in this. Yes, the man has a huge responsibility culturally, traditionally, in our society to take the lead role when it comes to financial matters. That every story is different. We all have our different unique stories. So every relationship, the major players in it should look at their financial situation and work out their budget in the way it will work for them. In some homes, women are the breadwinners. In some, men are. So, for instance, if I'm married to a woman that is more financially stable than I am, I think it's wise that she also takes much of the responsibility in the home while I supplement from the other side. So it's not like thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not lie, biblical commandments, that there are no no way to walk around it. Things are, we can walk our way around things now. Thanks.
Okay. That's very very well stated. I'd like to. I'm sorry. I just found a lot of what you said very funny. I'd like to bring in another person. Javan, you've been silent through a great deal of the conversation. Javan, are you there?
Yes, I am here, and I think for me it's really nice to listen to the
Yes.
conversation, and also just learn from people's perspective, because it's beautiful to share and to pick the good practices, because also we are in the space of learning and learning, And in this conversation where we are talking about finances and relationships, personally, I wouldn't really condemn uh, people who, or women who decide to be housewives, as long as they are comfortably doing it and complementing their partners, because you can also be a house husband, and that there's no problem with that, as long as it's mutual. It's an agreement that you have, and you are helping each other fit in whatever they are doing, because if you are at home, because let's say, let me use my example. If I am at home and my better half is doing something out there, because it's trying to fend for the family, then it's well. The problem is if I'm not supportive of their agenda, if I'm not supportive of whatever they are doing, and because finances is not about who has more, it's about what we do together to achieve a better life for our family, our immediate relatives, and also the community that we fit in. Because finances have been made to be a very sensitive issue. It's where we look at each other's prowess, and it's like they have money, but sometimes we don't want to talk about conversations where I was just given an idea by my better half, which made me have the money that I have. And that is very key to me, is having somebody who can complement you, having somebody who can catalyze the ideas that you have, and that also goes to them. Like, it's mutual, it's two-way. So the culture that we are in is where we all have to complement, appreciate, and continuously support each other. Thank you.
Okay, great. What I'm getting across board is there's a general understanding of the fact that relationships have an attachment to a particular language that is different for every single kind of relationship.
Sure.
And though there's a science to how we relate relationally and the finances associated with that, there's still the language that we individually have to learn about each other. You
Yes.
have mentioned something about house husbands, and it brings me to my next question before I throw the ball over to Michelle. Now, we have Mama Mboga,
Mm-hmm.
Cookie Iwoha from Ghana. Mama Mboga is that lady who sells for you groceries on a stand just probably outside your house. I don't know if you have them in Ghana, but in Kenya we have them a lot. And we have Mama Mboga, we have Mama Fua, the lady who comes to wash clothes at your house looking for some form of income. We also have women mechanics today. We have women who are matatu touts. We have construction workers who are women. And generally, what I'm trying to get at is the space on economic involvement for women it's been burst open, and roles that were traditionally meant for men are now being more and more acceptable as roles that women can take up as economic roles. And right now, as we speak, there's a global crisis, the COVID-19 crisis, and we have an unemployment on a scale that is phenomenal. Which brings me now to the question I'm asking: why do you think men are choosy with the jobs they pick? For instance, why don't we have a Baba Mboga? Why don't we have a Baba Fua? Will you open your door to a man who wants to wash your clothes?
But
Like you
they're
will
there.
to...
They're doing it. They're there.
Okay.
I want to. Okay. Okay.
Actually, honestly speaking, I think we are taking this, we are not looking keenly, because I've seen men who run vibandas, I've seen men who wash clothes, I've seen men who are house helps, I've seen all these things. But before we even go there, Rosuna had wanted to say something about the housewives, and I was like, I don't want to dilute her point, so I will want her to go first, and then we can pick this with Kamande over the choosy roles and stuff.
Ruzuna.
Oh, okay. He had mentioned about the housewife and how there are women who choose to be housewife. I don't have a problem with women who choose to be housewives. I do have a problem with a society that leaves them economically vulnerable in those positions. And so we are talking about the plight of men in relation to the society. We must remember that. And I know that relationships are individualistic. It is you, or rather me and someone else talking together. But we are a product of our society. The way we think, the way we behave, the way we make decisions are influenced by our environment. And that environment includes the economic, the prevailing economic conditions, the prevailing political conditions. And so when we're talking about the housewife, if you are a woman who chooses to be a housewife, you must at the same time be aware that you are living yourself in a place of dependence. Okay. So, and if you are a man choosing to live with a woman who decides to be the housewife, you also have to acknowledge that you are going to be somehow the parent of that woman. And again, speaking, focusing on the housewife position, it is not housewife as in sitting at home and just watching telly and being, there is work that is involved in housewifery. There is cooking, there is cleaning, there is taking care of children, and that is work that is not economically valued and it is unpaid for. So the way the society is set up in the society today, or rather in the contemporary society, is that the housewife role is unpaid for, and yet it is work that enables the husband to be able to do whatever he does outside. For me, what that means is that whatever the husband earns is 50% belongs to the wife. Should ideally, it is up to an individual to choose, but ideally, whatever the husband, because the work that she does at home contributes to whatever he is able to earn in the public environment. And so when you choose to be a housewife as a woman, you have to be aware of these things. That man does not owe you his money. And so you have to be clear with him that I am doing this, and he also has to be clear on the same point. I am doing this, and whatever you get is for the both of us. Okay?
Yeah.
If you cannot agree on that point, then do not be a housewife, and don't, have a relationship or a marriage where your woman is a housewife, unless you have that kind of agreement. That's what I wanted to add.
Well, so I think I would want to now contribute to the issue of the second question, where I feel like our society has brought to light women who are doing the quote unquote odd jobs that were left for men, but has not highlighted the men who are doing the same quote unquote odd jobs that were meant for women. So it is also an imbalance that we don't talk about. Where if a woman today is in Django, it's a highlight story. But when a man is cooking in the kitchen, or rather is here, I've paid him to come cook for me and wash my kitchen, is not a headline kind of deserving story. It is unfair, it's biased. And this is why right now we are saying that men are choosy. No, if there's a gender that I know that doesn't choose jobs, is the masculine gender. These people work. These people get odd jobs because we saw a story of a woman who's been married to a man for 3 years. This man has been lying to her that he works in an airport, but in the real sense, he's a watchman. But he's been making sure he provides for this woman. He takes her for high-end dates and all that thing. Why? Because he does not want to disappoint the woman he's living with and the expectations that the society has set for him. So maybe we need to look at it from this angle. How do we make sure that jobs are jobs and not being looked at as odd jobs as long as they're providing? How do we feel comfortable? Commander said something important, that money cannot buy love. But unfortunately, in the society we live in, money is buying love because we learn to love. So as long as for now my bills are sorted and everything, I will learn how to live with you and maybe love you. If not, I can always cheat. That is the society that we live in. So we need to look at these issues economically. We have made, and it's the most unfortunate thing, and I'm going to say this, and a disclaimer, being that I've been in a shoe of a single mother. We always look at it from, if a relationship fails, yes, sometimes it used to be a woman's fault, but nowadays it's the man who refused to be responsible. So we want to look at it that, oh, me and him parted ways because he was not responsible enough. But are we getting the other side of the story? Me and him parted ways because he did A, B, C, D. But are we looking at what are the other options that we can coexist? And we do not have to be in a relationship if we feel like our financial status don't agree with each other. But this doesn't mean that all genders are, or rather every single man is included in that bracket. We need to look at it in a category that each person for themselves. It's human to lack money. It's human to have money. It's human to be responsible. It's human to be responsible. Just say, Commander did A, B, C, D, not men are. And this brings me to the point that I always have an issue with. The thing that women keep shouting, that men are trash, men are dogs, men are what? It needs to stop. If your father is not trash, then that man you were dating is not trash. He's human. He made his mistakes. And if you guys don't agree, part ways. You know, this thing that, oh, men are rapists simply because you know one man who raped. What about the women who are raping young boys every day? So I think it needs to get to an equal conversation where if we are talking about the economical perspective, we look at it from a humanly perspective, not from a gender lens, or rather, because gender to us nowadays is women. That is the most unfortunate part. That if I'm talking about gender, I am a gender activist. I mean, I'm a feminist, or rather, I only speak issues of women. It's unfortunate, but the truth of it is that we are all human. And unfortunately, some of our cultures and our traditional practices are very unfair. And maybe we need to just sit down and ask ourselves soberly, being that relationships are different, how people live is very different, what principle guides people is very different. But can we just be sane enough and say some of our traditional practices are unfair to men and not actually to women? I think that is one thing we want to be clear with. And when Rosuna said that it is okay to decide to be a housewife if you want to, but also look at the economical value of it. I agree with that 100%. Because if I hire someone today to come do my laundry, to come do my cleaning and do my dishes, I will pay them to do that. But if I'm your housewife, I also have issues. I need money. I won't come to you every day and tell you, "Oh, Baba Nani, I need sanitary towels." I will not do that. I need this defined for me, that if I choose to be a housewife, how then do I become economically empowered? That is why I'm saying money is an underlying issue that we cannot get rid of, whether we like it or not. We want to be good humans. We want to say we don't love money, but trust me, if you don't love money, you're not existing. We love money. And we need to agree that money is everything at this point. And we also need to agree that roles need to be 50-50. That is what I believe in. I believe that we can go out with my boyfriend, whether he has money or not, we will eat and I will pay the bills. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't break me. When he wants to take me out, let him take me and buy. When I want to take him out, let me take him out and buy. It cannot be every day Oh, you're not taking me out nowadays. You don't even go buy me food that I don't know where. Where's the money, sis? If you want to go, get the money and take him also. So I think for me, it's about dividing the roles and sitting at an understanding that the man, if the man pays the bill, it's not wrong. But if you also pay the bill, there's nothing wrong with it.
Thank you.
Yes, Kamande.
Yeah, thank you, Chico. I agree with you partly. Probably you have the. I like it. You are quite empowered, and most women can't reason, or I don't want to say can't reason, but it's different. It's different for every person, and I'm glad that you are taking up the roles of course, treating even your guy, which is really inspiring. I'm also treated sometimes, and I like it. So what I want to say is, money can't buy happiness is a statement you said, and I think it's something that we need to reflect. We have so many people who have crazy money but are not living in love. Even if you learn to love, it's not going to be authentic, because I know you're here for convenience. I actually saw a screenshot yesterday of a lady who was in school. Her dude was paying school fees, and then one day she woke up and told him that, I don't love you, I'm just indebted to you. I owe you because you schooled me, you provided for me, but now I can't love you, but I'll just live with you for the sake of trying to pay you. So I think we need to set that clear. Gender will not change even if people try to misunderstand. We don't want to make it the norm. Gender still remains what it is, the socially constructed norms of men and women. On to the second question about the issue that Omeka, you had raised, that men are choosing. I actually personally disagree with that. I think the most what Chico has said, the men are the ones who can go beyond and even do the what you call the traditional women roles. Look at our chefs. The best chefs, actually, which cooking is regarded as a woman job, are men. Look at our saloonists. I'm actually told some ladies prefer going to men who are saloonists than women. Most of you, yeah. So Omeka, I'm getting some bonga points here. Look at we have makeup artists, those who do makeups for ladies. Some of them are men and they're doing it quite perfectly. Yes, I can see some hands, I like it. And then even we have, I think there's so many men who are going beyond, of course, the norm and doing what we call the women roles. Actually, maybe to just finish up, I like what Rosuna said about the burden that is given to women, especially, of course, we all know whether you're empowered, Shiko, whether you're not, when you have a man in the house one day, the toll on domestic roles, cooking, washing, even if the man will assist you, the burden is always on a woman, and we tend to forget that. Look at the 24-hour clock system. Okay, you, Shiko, you are 1 in a million. I think that is something we need to agree, because even the most empowered women, most of them like it actually. Doing the domestic roles, it's quite African, and I hate that about us, because that in itself brings the aspect of. I'm not saying it in a bad way, because women tend to take the domestic roles takes tolls on women, and it's actually something that is bringing a lot of challenges, including, of course, violence against women, even increasing their vulnerabilities, as Rosuna said. There's this analysis called the 24-hour cycle, which actually defines the women roles. When you wake up in the morning, what does a woman do? And what does a man do? You'll find women wake up early and tend to sleep late. It's actually, that is what it is. It is what it is, and we need to to confirm that.
No,
So
it's not
it's
what
something we
it
need
is.
to discuss.
Ruzuna.
Yes,
Ruzuna
yes.
has something to say.
But,
Ruzuna has something to say.
I want to partly disagree with him, and also what Shiko said. I think not disagree, but maybe look at it the other way. But I'm definitely disagreeing with Kamande on something. I'll start with Shiko. I get that people say men are trash. I don't agree that statement because it groups people, and I don't like it when people are grouped together. Like you just pick a variety of people and put them in a group. It is what brings about segregation. They are, we are. I don't advocate for that, but I am also aware that even on the others, it's a kind of double standard. People say men are trash, but people also say women are bitches. So it cuts across when you're talking about these tropes. And that's why, for me, these tropes, we have to find a way of getting rid of them. And they both come with baggage for men and for women. And so when again, when we're talking about, like, for me, I identify as a feminist. And feminism, if you take the time to read a little about it, and maybe to discover a little about it, it is not about the women gender alone. It is equality of the sexes. Okay, it is equality of the sexes, and that applies to the men. And what I think people tend to overlook a lot of the times is the fact that we live in a patriarchal society. But patriarchal, as much as it advocates for leadership of the men, it is not good for all men. It is not entirely good for all men. Actually, it only benefits the men in privilege. The men who are in lower cadres economically, socially, suffer from patriarchy. I mean, suffer in patriarchy, and so it does not work for them. The only benefit they get is when they are called the head, and they don't get to do domestic work, but they still suffer. They still have to work, the head of the family. they enjoy being called ndo mkubwa wa nyumba and things like that. But other than that, it does not benefit them. And that's how men suffer, like, in patriarchy. And I always wonder why they cling on it, because it does not do them a favor. When they are called hard man, they when we're talking about women trying to use men and finding financial security in marriage, it is unfair to the men. And it is patriarchy that brings out these distinctions, that you as a man, you are the provider, you as the woman, you are the homemaker. You see, and so the men are burdened with this idea that I have to go out or even steal so that they can fend for their family. Now, when we are talking about men being choosy, the question about Mama Fua and Mama Mboga, I think that it is only practical the way this gender roles are maintained. It is only financial situations are only practical insofar as the status quo is maintained, because we are urging women to get into the employment sector, to be economically empowered and economically independent. What that means is that the family unit will be disturbed in a way. If the man is working, the woman is working, then we have to discuss how things happen in the home. It cannot be that I work and you work and I come home and take up all the responsibilities that are in the home. We are going to fight. So if the status quo remains, there is going to be a problem. So today, and I don't want men to be the providers, today we live in a very flexible society that is changing. And the problems that we encountered out there are encountered by both men and women. Parents take their children to school. They pay the same amount of school fees. They give the same amount of effort for both girls and for boys. And so to say that the man remains the provider and the woman remains the consumer is problematic. So women have to acknowledge that in a way patriarchy has been benefiting. In a way they cannot maintain the status quo, but men as well cannot maintain the status quo. They have to be willing to be flexible, to wake up and make tea and clean because the woman was outside doing her own thing. Flexibility applies and cuts across. So and I must say, men are choosy. You see, when we are advocating for gender equality, that gender focused on women because women were at a greater disadvantage, and men were forgotten in that they were not taught or how to exist or coexist with these women who are going to become products of education, products of economic empowerment. So they expect to still remain the the heads in the household. And then work that is done by the women is usually devalued. And that is evident in that when you work in the house, it does not translate to economic value. Look at any economic statistics anywhere in the world. Women's work in terms, it does not feature in economic statistics. So where does that work go? Nobody knows. And we have to also consider peer, where he has given, Commander has given an example of someone saying he works in the airport, but is actually a watchman. So men tend to avoid doing things like mamafua because they are afraid of how the society will perceive them, how the women that they want to be with will perceive them. So most of them tend to avoid, or when they do it, they posit themselves or position or pretend to be something else, and it affects them. That is why I think they are choosing just because they don't want to be seen as doing a woman's job. The last thing I want to say is when we are talking about, we've seen men do women's jobs, like we have chefs, we have saloonists who are men. That is true, but there's the difference between paid and unpaid labor. When women do it, they are doing it in the home and paid. When men do it, they are doing it in the public, paid. Chefs are paid. A woman who is cooking dinner for her children is not paid. There's a difference. So I think we have to be very pedantic when we are assessing these issues if we want to actually be fair to both genders. And again, it is not, for me, it is not a competition between the men and the women. It is finding a platform to coexist, to allow everyone to grow, and every relationship to acknowledge the individuality of the woman and the individuality of the man without the discrimination that is placed upon them by the society. It is not done by an individual. Individuals usually just propagate because they have been told, you are a man, you should be this, you are a woman, you should be this. And when we follow those things, we unfairly, or rather unknowingly, continue the discrimination that is between those genders. So yes, there is a way men tend to be choosy, because when we were urging women to go out there and be mechanics, be engineers, be presidents, we were not urging men to also be caretakers, to take their children to school, to cook in the home. We were not doing that. So it is becoming a real challenge.
But Rosanna, I also think honestly, and coming from a family that I know was patriarchal, and now looking at how I live right now is quite different. We say that women were left behind for quite a long time. I agree with that 101%. But I also agree that men have been left behind and out of the table, have been completely excluded. And it's high time we also empower them to understand. Because I share with you, I hold values of young women closely to me. So I can call myself a feminist, and values of young men too. But there is a thing I've realized in most cases. We want to tackle problems of women faster. We have made the journey of equality a men versus women fight. It's unfortunate, but I also know maybe at a personal level we've not done that, but in the wider scope of things, it's been a feminism journey, is a women versus men kind of journey. We have seen how unfair, even when we go to the feeder courts and everything, for when guys are separating and the responsibilities and everything, we have seen how unfair it's been for men for the longest time. Just this year is when the court decided, you know what, we need to actually even have evidence of where this man works and how this woman works, so that people can have shared responsibilities. I tend to believe that it's someone's will. I know Commander said I'm a special breed. I'm not. Uh, I love my kitchen space for this reason. I grew up cooking with my mom. I love doing it. I honestly love doing it. My kitchen space is the only place I can tell people, hapa wachana na mimi. Let me handle my food alone. But there are times that I come from work, I am tired, and I'll be like, you know what, today is not that good day. Please have your way. I cannot get myself to cook. I cannot get myself to do what. If I want food, I will order if we cannot cook. But I don't feel like, it's not a matter of someone making it, you must cook. You must wash my clothes. That I don't do. Let it be something I do because I feel obligated to do. I know we've been told to keep time, and I know we are talking too much. But I think it's something we need to look at from the angle of the roles are not mandatory. There is a way different relationships work through them, but let us not also give way to oppression just because the society dictates one gender should do ABCD.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Sorry, I don't disagree with you, Shiko. What I'm saying, yes, the focus was on the girl child. And I agree that the boy child was left out in that there was no way that he was not taught on how to integrate in himself with the society that we are in now. So gender roles for a particular family should not be because the society dictates but it should be upon them. But when we tell girl children and boy children that do it because you're a boy, do it because you're a woman, that is where the problem begins. Now, feminism advocates for both boys and girls. And that means that I don't know if they were forgotten. They shouldn't have been forgotten. It should get and when you study gender, it talks of gender and development. Initially, it used to be women in development, and then we had women and development, and it was discovered that we cannot talk about gender equality without talking about gender relations. How are the power relations between men and women? If we figure out how to address the power relations, then that is a way to start, because we cannot talk about, for example, women and men having the same jobs and earning the same pay when at the same time one is the head of the other. We have to figure out how do they relate in their environment. What is their lived realities? What are their needs as men and as women? And then we move from there. So I don't particularly think that if you are feminist, you are only protecting the girl child. You are protecting, and I wish people would advocate for more men to study gender, so that they can also associate how they are being failed by the society. Yes.
Allow me to interject now. I don't also want us to lose track of this conversation. The meeting or this session was supposed to end at about 12:30. It's now 12:16. And so there's still a whole segment that we are yet to touch base on. So first of all, I would like your consent that we can extend this meeting by a few minutes. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those are 2 hands, 3, 4. I'll assume the others have. Thank you, Javan. You're awfully quiet, and also you have, you're not showing your video often, but that's okay. At least we know you're there with us. So very quickly, I'm noticing that this conversation is taking on so many nuances from feminism, from socialization, what society expects from men and women in terms of gender roles, and how that affects finances in relationships. But before we continue, why not have a breather? Let's stretch a little. Maybe say hi to the person you haven't said in the chat. And let's have Javan. I'm told Javan has prepared a piece for us today. Javan, this is a good time when the temperatures are slowly simmering back to, the ones that are not corona type, to normal. So Javan, whenever you're ready, you can present your piece.
It's afternoon, yeah? I was about to say good morning.
Yes.
Then I noticed it's only me still sleeping. So I'm happy for the conversations that are going. Particularly for me, it's great to understand how the different uh, uh, genders and different cultures. And these are things also that we need to clearly talk about, that we also come from cultures that are not very standard, like different spaces have different forms and things that they are doing. So, or even things that they perceive to be what's right. So I'm going to do a piece, however much I'm going to do it not with a very loud voice. I hope everybody is listening to me nicely. Mnanisikia vizuri, eh? Okay, so, somebody just went under the table. What was happening? Okay. So this piece is called Kura, and Kura. When I was writing it, I was trying to talk to the people, and this is people around me that, in relation to what we want to see, in relation to what's happening, it's more upon us as people, the masses, and it's good that we are talking today as the masses, the voices of people not necessarily in power or people not necessarily in high offices, but people who feel like we need to take these conversations and also responsibility of the change that we want to see. So here is Kura. Kura debe kula, bila kura kura. Kura debe kula. Are we together? Hello?
Your audio was breaking up, so you probably might have to start over. Just let's try
Okay.
again. I think your audio is clearing up.
Okay, but am I back now?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
Okay, sorry. Kura debe kula, bila kura utachakura. Tuna hustle kuwa sonko wakati kupata job na cash imekuwa so slow kama movement ya konokono. Mikono zangu hazifiti in my pocket, juu zao ziko in kama charger na socket. Wanabonga mob kama product ya safu, ngia taarifu nataka change safu, utapata kura tu ndio Arif. One nation tumelan one lesson, kupata change mi na wewe ndio one mason. Wazee walisema penye nia pana njia, niko stage hata sijapata njia naitishwa mia. Weird. Hatu hike siku hizi juu mountains imekam home na prices za goods. Hatuna kura, zile tunazo tunauza. Are we fools? Who's smarter now? Ni kiwanja wanakula kwao. Life's good for them, wanatumia words kama wow. Tap zikiflow na maji badala ya hewa. Nikiishi kwa nyumba after election badala ya hema, nitajua kuna change. Juu sijui difference ya town na so kwa duka kuna change. Paper bag hazina weight, hata nyumbani hatuna kazi ya plates. Ndaona kesho, I guess. So kura debe kula, bila kura utachakura. Naingia shule kusoma, mwalimu anagoma na graduate chuo kikuu na honors notice board kusoma nikitafuta vacancy. Hii subject inaitwa experience, sikuiona ama hii degree ya jobless corner. Ambulance imekuwa too fast kutupeleka kwa Grim Reaper. Juu ku maintain life, health services too expensive, death is cheap, akishiba excess, Turukana meals ni shida. Kids dying daily ni msiba. Biashara ni hasara, na uza sukari ya nyumbani 100 na magendo na punguza kadhaa 1%.
Oh no. Javan? Such a bummer. We happen to have, we seem to have lost contact with Javan. While he's working on his technical issues, I think we will have to move on. It's really so unfortunate because I was really enjoying that piece. Yeah, so Javan, if you can hear us, whenever you're ready, just try and reconnect and we will continue with the discussion. Before I continue, I'm looking at our chats here amongst the panelists, and it's so interesting how feminism has become such a hot potato amongst us. And I think I'd like to stand in solidarity with the two ladies who are here with us today, because I feel like this panel is slightly skewed. I know it's a boys' chamber, but come on, right? And I think I'll start by saying that The ladies who came before me, the ones who fought for the rights I enjoy today, did not fight for me to accept micro oppression. Therefore, what I am trying to say is domestic duties are life skills for the 21st century individual. Please update. Please update. Do the software update. Thank you. Now we will move on to story time. There's a person X. Let's call this person Michelle. So Michelle meets a boy called Robin and they fall in love and the relationship is sweet. In fact, they have moved from all stages. They have graduated from a nice infatuation. They've even skipped the entanglement stage and now they have agreed that this is a healthy working relationship for the future. But there's one problem, or maybe two problems. Michelle has a shoe problem. She sees shoes and the money goes. But believes in supporting his family back at home.
I am Michelle.
He wants to go and build a house for himself and his family in upcountry. He wants to take his younger cousins to school, to university. And Michelle is just like, this is not, you're not supporting my lifestyle. I need this. This is a need that needs to be met. Which now brings us to our next question, okay? Are financial boundaries necessary in relationships? And if so, what are some examples? And I think I'd like to hear from our Ghanaian, our in-house Ghanaian, Cookie. Please tell us, what are your thoughts on financial boundaries? Why are we not able to hear you? Okay.
Financial boundaries in a relationship. I believe that we are all individuals first before getting into partnership with someone else. So I believe when couples are together, they should maintain their independence. You can, regardless of how close we want to get with other people, we can never get inside them, as in be who they are. So people should keep their independence when it comes to finance in a relationship. Yes, you can be open to your partner, to what you earn, plan it together, but it should be your own responsibility to decide when to spend this or that, because it is your money, regardless of the union and how tight or spiritual laws that are guiding it. Individuality should be respected in relationship. Financial boundaries should be kept from my own perspective.
I hear you, Cookie. And I think what there is that they're discouraging you is across the divide. So, for example, for me, when I think about a relationship, I imagine that we are building life together. So, even in some ways, our money goals, our individual money goals, are probably going to get intercepted at some point. Like there's a point where they come together. And that's why I'm talking about financial boundaries, because if you're working towards different money goals, at what point is a compromise necessary? What are your financial deal breakers? You know, when in the process of coming up with financial boundaries, and maybe just to demystify a little. Kamande, what do you think is a healthy financial boundary?
Thanks, Michelle, for that. First of all, let me send my apologies by any way we were patriarchal. We're really sorry for that. But in response to your question, I think number one, I need to say that every relationship is unique. And you see, when we get into a relationship, even before we get to the finances, there are people who started dating and they had passwords on their phone, and they are living 2 years down the line with passwords on their phone. And there are those who came in without passwords, and it has been the norm. So the same applies to finances. how are you able to, of course, open up from the onset? From the onset, were you able to reveal your financial income? For example, what is your pay? How do you get your money, and what have you? That maybe it depends with how it came from the onset, because uh, that defines really how you're going to relate, even beyond meeting the sweet times that Michelle and Robin had, and now they're into a very serious relationship past the entanglement stage. So it comes there. But personally, from my experience, I think I think to some extent, boundaries are needed in a relationship in terms of financial, the amount of course, information you
Ah,
reveal to your partner, and this is why I think, this is why I think that this is my personal opinion. Yeah, I think sometimes uh, we tend to create a system whereby two partners, or one partner for that matter, uh, be with knowledge of finances, will of course reveal information that is not conclusive. For example, I can tell you, maybe for example, I'm earning a salary of maybe 10,000. Let me give an example. And then after we did it for some years, I get a pay rise and what have you. But to some extent, I don't reveal that these circumstances. So it's my choice. It's my choice, really. And it will encourage, I think what I've seen work is, if you're going to be open with your finances, particularly as partners and spouses, you may have a joint account probably, or you have defined responsibilities whereby Michelle and is paying for rent, Robin is paying for school fees. I think that is the kind of arrangement I'd prefer, but boundaries sometimes are important. Yes, I think that way.
I'm finding it so interesting that, I mean, you're saying one thing, and I feel like we're creating a picture of pure bliss. For me, based on now what I would like from, I'm just giving an example. I would like to know the amount of debt my significant other has. I keep hearing, or rather in the past, we would hear stories of how it is only after your husband has died that you realize you're in trouble. Hmm?
that's
You think people have come to say they are sorry. They're coming to tell you, organize your life, sell the house, sell the shop. You figure it out, but we're here for our money. And that's what I'm saying. As you're mentioning financial boundaries, I think it's very, very important to demystify. Because if you're not clear about what is that in the even to start with, you find yourself in situations where you have three mansions and you cannot sustain them. Now you have Amjengo and you have no money for it because somebody is busy buying shoes, for example. And not just any shoes, the shoes where you have to insure them, But regardless, we move. We just move. Next question. I want to throw around different points to see how you respond, and also because of time. So kindly bear with me that not all of you will answer the same questions. So, was it on Monday? On Monday, the Daily Nation had an article in the newspaper about how do I say, gender disparity in terms of pay for men and women, specifically in Kenya. In fact, if I am to quote a specific point in that article, just a second, they say, according to gendergap.africa, an online tool designed to calculate the gaps rather, a man in Kenya makes an average of approximately 11,800 shillings more than a woman per month. And the 17th largest gap is in Africa. I mean, I love statistics because they make us think. Which brings me to my question. How can couples address gender pay gaps? And what attitudes can be adopted around finances to create spaces for healthy relationships when money is involved? I think, Shiko, you're very passionate about this, so I'll let you go first.
So I don't know. I'm so much tempted, and you'll forgive me, to go back to the first point first and then jump into this. I do not miss questions. I'm sorry. But the reason I'm doing that is because I feel like financial transparency is important in a relationship, but this is not something you do overnight. It's a process you grow with. Why am I saying that? And I know if I'm hard, I'll be killed, but I will say it. But I will say it. So for me, it took us more than 3 years to just get to a point where we are open enough about our finances, literally to a point of how much do you earn, what other side hustles do you have, and all that. So we are at a point whereby if I get my check right now, the first person I call is him. I'm like, yo, I have my check here worth this amount. Can we have a conversation about our bills and what are our priorities and how much you're going to save? Um, if he is paid right now, even if it's 5,000 bob, 2,000 bob, 1,000 bob, however much or however little that is, he calls me and says, babe, I have my check here. It's worth this much. Before I deposit it, what are our priorities? And we have a conversation about that. That makes me want to trust him beyond all the other shenanigans that might be on his WhatsApp, on whatever else in his phone, because I know, because I know there's only one thing that we have that is really joint here is our finances. And then now jumping into your gender gap question, in terms of finances and everything, there are times where I've been the one who's earning more than him, and at times triple what he earns. It doesn't make me more of a human than him. We sit down and say, this is what you came in with. We, of course, have a joint account, which I know this is, for most people, this is a no-go zone. Tuweki pesa yetu pamoja, ndio uniache alafu uende na pesa yangu. No, it's not happening. No, but for most cases is whatever you earn, we sit down and say, as a people, as a couple, you have bills A, B, C, D, I have bills A, B, C, D. How do we now put our monies together and say, now this is our money? And that is why I started by saying when people are together and if you're in a genuine relationship, it has to get to a point where you people see the monies as our money. It's key. Where I have to say, oh, but then we need to buy A, B, C, D. This word we, we always take it for granted. When a relationship starts from my to then our and then to we. So when we get to we point where we are talking about everything as we, that means we need to now start differentiating so many things. That I need to be honest and genuine about my pay slip, and he needs to be very genuine and honest about his pay slip. This helps us build the trust, financial trust. And when I say money can be evil and can be very good, it's because I know the moment we started opening up about so many things, then literally and getting to the financial transparency bit, it made us feel one. It made us feel like we are walking a journey together. So there is need to have financial boundaries, but also when you're doing things together, it then seals the gap. Because the same research that talks about the man earning more is the same research that goes down to tell us Kenyan youth between 18 to 35, the feminine gender is earning more than men. So what we need to do is sit down and look at our priorities, sit down and look at where do we want to go as a couple first, because now your dreams become my dreams and my dreams becomes your dreams. So can we sit down and look at what are the priority areas? Do we have kids? Do they need school fees? Sort school fees. Do we need to buy a bicycle, or do we need to buy a boda so that it's an extra income? So is this a priority? How much do we need for that? So how much do we set aside for that? So it's very important and very key when it comes to being honest. It starts from transparency to now sealing the gap, because you cannot seal a gap of finances that you don't know about. Yeah.
All right. Ruzuna, again, I'm so happy to hear your thoughts. What do you feel about gender gaps in terms of gender wage gaps and how that can either be addressed can actually be addressed in a relationship amongst all kinds of couples?
I feel like Shiko has said, for me, it is important to be honest, to tell your truth because relationship for me is about taking a chance. It's moving from unknown to unknown. And so if you're going to decide to make that commitment, just go to the deep. I'm not saying don't be cautious. I'm saying take a chance and believe in yourself. And you also have to appreciate that you have no control over tomorrow, that things might turn out not how you expect them. That does not mean you should stop dreaming. It just means sometimes shit happens. Okay. So for me, if you're in a relationship, be open. Be honest about your finances. I'm not saying take your salary and give it to him or take your money and give it to her. I'm saying talk about it. Let both of you be in control of your finances. If one of you earns less, then the one that earns more is sure to take a bit more responsibility than the other one, but it is a mutual kind of agreement, kind of operationalization of things within that relationship. That is how you bridge that gender gap. When the one that earns less begins to earn more, then there's less burden to the other one and there's more progress for the both of you as a couple. So I do agree with Shiko in their take. And I'm not saying that you cannot predict what someone else will do to you or hurt you in another way. But if you are happy, if you're enjoying yourself and you feel that your partner is honest with you, don't I wouldn't advise that you have so that you start creating things in your mind that what if he leaves me? enjoy the moment, and if that time comes, pick yourself up, because that's what people do. Pick yourself up and move on with your life without him or without. That's totally under your control. That is how you bridge the the pay gap in a relationship. But so far as bridging the pay gap outside, which is what we are earning outside, outside where we have men sometimes being paid more than women for equal work done. That one I would just urge both of us as men and women to advocate for equal pay, because we are all human beings. So equal work for equal work. Equal pay for equal work done.
So that's very institutionalized, and I think now that goes beyond the relationship. Sometimes, based on this patriarchal society that we found ourselves in, as much as women are trying to push to earn as much as men earn at the same levels for the same amount of work or type of work, again, for the relationships, it's a very tricky situation, especially where power is involved. So, Commander, as we move to wrap up, how important do you think then it is important to, or rather, what would be the benefit of remodeling gender roles when planning a future with a significant other, especially where finances are involved? So he disappeared. I was hoping to get insights because we are, after all, in the boys' chamber. But fine, I will throw this to the ladies. But you have to promise me you'll be very brief. In terms of what we know as gender roles, right? Again, how do we remodel these so that whenever you're planning a your future with somebody who is serious, what is it you're gonna do to remodel your gender roles where finances are involved?
And I think this is about agreements. It's about why you're in a relationship in the first place. Because why I still believe, I know people talk about love at first sight and everything, but there's a journey after that. So when you're getting into this thing, there's a journey. And I'm giving an example of me because I only know me and what I'm living right now. Is because when you get into it, there's so much you don't know. You don't know if this guy has another girlfriend. You don't know if this guy has a baby mama. You don't know if this guy has 2 or 3 more kids out there he's raising. You don't know anything. And so this other person doesn't even know the same about you on this other end. But when you guys come together and agree, we are mutually getting into this. It's a journey you walk. It needs to be to getting to a point whereby you say, I am comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with ABCD. and this other person says this is where my comfortability gets up to, and then you see what can we compromise and what can we not compromise, and then going forward you now understand. Because trust you me, when we talk about relationships, it's like the way we say empowerment. It's like a very huge thing that you can never really define to the completion of it, but there is an understanding that we have to always walk as we. I emphasize as we because we have tendencies of being in a relationship, but ni kama ile watu wanakosananga, and then you have all your friends knowing where you're angry at your man, and your man doesn't know why you're angry at them. So it's the same. We need to have conversations first. Communication is key, and also defining where you're going. Because if we get into this thing right now, I need to know, wait, tunaenda wapi? Is it worth it? And by the time you're getting to the point, like Rosanna said, man, things happen in this life. So it might get to a point where you're like, me, I can't with you anymore, and you need to part ways and everything. But what does it mean for the resources we've put together, and what does it mean for our dreams that we had put together? So those are conversations that people don't have, and maybe are important to have so that we get to the next level.
Okay, so Commander, you were supposed to go first for this question. So I'm looking at the daggers. Can you kill them? Where did you go? What do you think? How do you think we can remodel gender roles so that they are more befitting in a relationship when it comes to finances?
Yeah, I think, sorry, I was, I had lost my connection, but I'm back. I think it's very important actually to remodel, because finances, as we have said, and I think most of us mentioned, it's really key in a relationship. It's important, of course, we ensure that what Chico is saying, there's communication in terms of finances. I think every relationship is backed with a unique understanding of each spouse or each partner. So I think why we need to remodel is important, because it's a sure bet to having a healthy relationship. Whenever you have, of course, you have candid discussions about your finances, and you do joint planning. Although my reservation was that sometimes we might need to have boundaries, but of course, as much as the reason why I actually said that is because I know of a couple who the guy is actually even providing for his siblings. He comes from a needy family. He's now working, he's well off, but now he needs to, of course, provide for his teens who's his siblings who are younger than him. So that's why sometimes you see I could be having very unique interests or very unique things that I'm sorting on the side. And if sometimes you explain this, it's not coming out clear to everyone. It's just important that the key things are of course, I'm not saying only the basic, but what is needed of you in a relationship is set. What is needed of you outside also is communicated, so that, of course, as much as I'm earning 50K, probably 30K goes to paying my loans, going to footing some other bills that I incurred even before we met. Probably I have another group that I'm sorting, you see. So that's why I think that's when I was trying to communicate. But I think it's important to do this oftenly. It's good you communicate, and then you have a good understanding of each other, understanding how are these guys, the gender, not the gender, but the pay gap issue you've said. How much is my partner earning? How much am I earning? How can we be supportive of each other to make sure that we meet what is expected of us? So yes, I don't know if I've really answered that. I'm quite disoriented since I was out of this meeting for some time.
Don't
But
worry
that is my
about
take
it. I
on
think
that.
you've covered the bases, and thank you for being such a sport and joining back. Again, we're really just trying to wrap up. We really have to finish this discussion. And so you will allow me to go to my next question, but instead of starting with Shiko or Komande, I will go straight to Ruzuna. I think even as we have this discussion, we are making the assumption that these some level of financial education, like people are aware of financial planning or personal finances for themselves. So when we look to the future, or even to the changing trends of life, in the consideration of finances and relationships, is there some unlearning that needs to be done, perhaps, Rizuna?
Yes, there's definitely a lot of unlearning to be done on the part of men and on the part of women. We are a product of social conditioning, and that social conditioning is our big disservice, again, for both gender. So we need to unlearn what we have learned in terms of gender roles and understand that gender roles are not innate to our biology. So that when you meet someone, look at that someone as a human being and treat her or him as a friend, capable of evil, capable of good. Make friends with that person. That is how, for me, you start a relationship. Then the challenges that usually come that relate to finances in relationship have to do for the men with their ego. There's a crisis of ego identity, men's fragile ego and identity. And that again is a product of society where men have this fragile ego and women are taught to cater for that ego. We must always be conscious of those egos because now when women are earning, they are somehow compelled to shrink themselves to accommodate men's ego. Men need to be aware that they have these weaknesses as a product of societal conditioning so that they are not threatened by powerful women, by women who are willing to ask questions, to ask you why, and tell you, I do not want to. And also, on the part of women, again, there is an unlearning where the dependency bit, where you expect the man to be the provider, to be the protector, those things do not work and will not work as we go on in the society. So women need to unlearn the idea of I want to get a man who will provide for me. Or you're asking your man, okay, I want this relationship, but I'm not sure. Can you give me this and give this? He's not your retirement plan. Forget it. We need to unlearn those kinds of things. So we need to establish an environment where men become human beings, women also become human beings. So when you meet, women are not consumers and men are not, because that's what relationship, women are consumers. Even when they have their money, they are consumers, and men are the contributors. We need to have a society where we are both contributors, consumers, and the beneficiaries of the work that we put in. So yes, I think there's a lot of unlearning that needs to be done. And if we are all, the more we talk, then I think we are headed in the right direction.
Awesome stuff. I feel like I as a moderator I shouldn't show bias, but I approve that 1000%. Kofi, do you have any thoughts, any final thoughts on, in the consideration of finances and relationships, is there some unlearning that needs to be done? What do you have to say about that?
Hello, is that for me?
Yes.
Well, I got offline for some time. I'm just coming back. But if I can remember, my earlier contribution was on the need for the couple or partners to maintain their independence or individuality in their relationship. We are human first before the pact or the union that came or that will come to get us together. When it comes to marital relationship, there's need for openness, you know, people clarifying things to each other so that they know what they are really in. I heard you said earlier, you want to have the shock of, after your husband's demise, people coming up to tell you you have to leave this house, this property is on lease, that is unpaid bills on this one and that one. Yeah, those things need to be avoided if we are um, open in our financial transactions when it comes to relationship. When two people get joined together in a marital relationship, there need to be transparency in all ramifications when it comes to financial decisions, buying of a house, paying of a rent, getting a car. The couple needs to be sure that any of those steps are what they can really, accommodate in their income at that particular time. So there is need for people to be open with their financial transactions in relationship, but still they should be able to remain there to keep their individuality and stand their ground on where and what not to do, regardless of how much your other half persuades or demands for such. So that's my contribution. Individuality is important. Then transparency is of the utmost need so that both of you understand, so that won't be surprises at the end when things don't go as envisaged. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. So thank you for your contribution. We are running way over time, but thank you for being so gracious and sticking around. I think now I have a very, very big challenge for all of you because I notice you're very verbose individuals. So as for final thoughts, I will say this to the biggest culprit, Chico. In one sentence, summarize your overall thoughts for this subject, relationship and finances. What do you want the people watching us to carry away from this discussion in one sentence? There's no command vocab, just one sentence. One.
That would be an injustice, but it's okay. So, in one sentence, what would I want to say is that shut up. So it between your relationship problems and you, there is money, and the understanding that the person that you're dating is human, makes mistakes, and we all play a part in being in this relationship. Last one.
No, let me tell you, you have even used preposition and has been used written. Enough.
No, you see, I would have finished if you didn't talk. So last one is fair. This is show fair na kukula fair. If you send me money and I eat your money, don't complain. Just do not send fair. If someone wants to see you, let them come see you. And nobody's obligated to cook for you. If you want food, cook for yourself. Thank you.
You have failed the exam, but we accept your answer. Next, I will invite, let's see, Ruzuna, in one sentence. Please don't be like Shiko, please be different. One sentence. Give us your final thoughts on this subject. What do you want the people watching to take for themselves away from this discussion?
Remember that your decisions are in your control. You control what you decide. Be a friend. Tell your truth. Always be in control of your decisions.
It's okay, you guys. It's not like I give instructions. Okay. Thank you for that, Ruzuna. Let me try the Ghanaian. Maybe they be kind of new. Cookie in one sentence. One sentence. Please summarize your thoughts on this subject and what you'd like anybody watching this session to take away for themselves from this discussion. In one sentence.
In one sentence. Well, what I would say is let's try to be transparent in all our relationship details. Whenever we're getting involved with other people, we should try to be like an open book. When they look at us, they can be able to tell how everything is going to turn out for them. I'm done.
Let me tell you, Commander, I am buying you a beer, okay? I am buying you a beer. So in one sentence, okay, thank you for yourself. I don't take away from it's just with the instructions. Okay. You're killing me. So, Commander, what are your final thoughts? in one sentence.
I think in relationships, we need to be keen on our priorities. It's important to observe communication and promote good understanding amongst ourselves. And lastly, we need support system. Everyone is different. We all have different tastes and preferences. If we are coming together, we need to we need to understand each other and probably understand where someone is coming from financially. I wanted to say, if this disease could treat you abnormally,
Robin, finish this meeting. It's like there's a coup here. Just finish it.
Okay. Interesting. So we have given all of you an exam, and a good number of you have tried.
But there are no rules to this life. There are no rules to this life.
It's
Rules are
never
meant
that
to be
serious.
broken and to be bent.
It's
So
never that
that's why.
serious.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
rules are made to be broken. Just get that. It's amazing.
I have two things. I have two things that I need to put across. The first thing is I'm getting feedback that Cookie, you are not heard.
in one sentence.
Yeah, Cookie Iwoha, please repeat your one sentence. The one sentence that Michelle told you to say. Please repeat it. A good number of people didn't hear you. Please unmute yourself. Okay.
We should try to be transparent in our relationship and also keep our individuality.
Awesome.
One sentence.
And I give you an A. The examination board confirms your grade. Yeah, so we had a few panelists who were part of the discussion, but because of technical hitches, they couldn't join. I want to read through the statement of the contribution of one of the panelists. He says, "Let me begin by saying that the relationship must be strictly built on some accepted or agreed terms by those involved. Money plays a giant role in a relationship. The parties involved must therefore know that they have agreed to relate with each other on a ship, into brackets relationship, which journeys on the sea or ocean." He's being very poetic, he's an artist. You know what this means? It means that if the parties involved don't understand or agree as to how to be transparent with their finances and with equal mindsets, make up their minds to take up the duet responsibility to work to fetch money, their relation on the ship, on the ocean is going to sink. Period. Continues to say, secrecy, and I think Shiko Kihika also mentioned this a while back, secrecy and the lack of equal mindset to work smart, to grab money, to run the ship are some of the major factors that destroy relationships. More so, the woman should understand that she is a supporter, not a sleeper. Okay. The views mentioned on this particular comment are not the views of the moderator. She must also do her best to assist her man to keep them above sea level. And for us men, oh my goodness, much more on our shoulders. This topic can't be consumed this limited period of discussion, but I believe my brief submission raises some healthy emotions. I believe this contribution, because it was made a while ago, was contextually placed correctly at the time it was submitted. And at that point in time, the conversation was demystifying a lot of what he has said. I'm seeing Shiko has a lot to say already.
I am stuck at the woman being the supporter, but anyway, we are done with this conversation.
Yeah, so there has been a lot of activity on our comment section. Unfortunately, I can't read through all of them because our panelists have been gracious enough to give us an extension, which is way overdue. But then of note is what Tunhood said, which was on a light note. He said, Mimi na demi yangu tumenormalize kuspend time juu hatuko stable financially, lakini
Ambia
si
Tunu
time ni
atafute
money.
pesa. Amemwambia atafute pesa, asisumbue tafadhali. Look for money.
Okay. So with literally 7 seconds left to 2 hours, I want to close this discussion. I want to give a lot of thanks and gratitude to Peace Tree Network and the Anika Initiative, who have been gracious enough to bring this together. Next month, we will be talking about an array of so many other issues. So if you're watching us from YouTube, please click subscribe. If you're watching us from Facebook, please gonga like pale. It's the only way you'll get to know and be engaged with the things we're doing. But from us here at the Boyz Chamber, it is time we loved you and we left you. So yeah, it's been real, but it's goodbye. Asanteni sana. Asanteni sana.
Thank
Peace
you
out.
so much. Is there a way to stop being live now?